I love to dig Facebook. And a lot of times there are interesting posts from real people, just like this one, pop up. And I think it's very important to discuss with fellow dog owners. So let's talk about it and kind of go in details what happened here. I'm going to read it for you, but basically, this is just a regular situation that can happen with any of us, right? So let's get to it. I just had a guest threaten my dog after I promised him he's fine and the dog is not a problem. He said he felt threatened, and I said, Sir, how do you feel threatened when he's just laying there in the sun, bathing and not even near you? He goes, I've been bitten by dogs before. There is a first time for everything. I said, I assure you, he has never bitten anyone, and he's not a threat. And he continued to say that he would beat him if he comes near him. My blood began to boil, to say the least. So I calmly assured him that the dog is fine, and now Sunny has to sit in a hot reception camper with a shock collar on because this guy feels threatened by an old dog laying in the sun. So there is a lot here to discuss, right? And that's why I brought this up, because I think it's kind of interesting, right? So clearly the situation is such that this guy with a dog is working somewhere at a reception, and this guest comes and he's not comfortable with a dog being clearly off leash, laying somewhere in the work area, right, where this person came as a client. So this employee, he has a dog laying there off leash. We don't know the size of the dog, but I would assume it's a bigger type of dog. It would be funny if that would be a Chihuahua for the sake of it. But I don't know what kind of dog this is, but let's assume it's a bigger kind of a dog. Okay, so this guy is not happy, and he says here, it's not clear what he says, but he basically is just saying, like, dude, get your dog somewhere so he can't come to me and bite me. That's what the person thinks, right? Because he's been beaten before, supposedly, and that's why he's scared. And the employee, instead of removing the dog for the client, and I don't know if this is maybe a business owner himself, right? We don't know if he's employee or a business owner, but I think he's employee, because what happens after, he's saying that he tries to assure the client that it's fine. He's friendly line, I'm sure. And then basically it the, the outcome of this, the dog is laying there now with a shock collar. We're gonna come back to the shock collar nonsense. But for right now, I want to kind of know your opinion on the matter. What do you think? Do you think it's fair or not? Do you think who do you think is right? Right? Do you think the client has the right to come to a place where clearly dog not supposed to be, right? He's clearly not coming into a shelter, or I don't know, maybe a dog friendly cafe would be one. So he's not clearly coming something like that, right? He's coming to just a business, something probably to do with camping, right? In hot reception camper. So again, I don't know, but it's, I think, something to do with a camping ground. So the client, right, comes there and sees the dog. Client in general is scared of the dogs, and he asks employee to put his dog on a leash. Personally, I think it's a very sensible request, because in reality, and let's look at to this from this client's point of view, right? He doesn't know that your dog is quote friendly. He has no history with a dog. He sees the dog for the first time. Every owner on the planet thinks that their dog is friendly, or at least 90% of the people. However, how many dog fights and bites still happen, although the owner said my dog is, quote, friendly? And just because your dog is friendly, it doesn't mean that that's socially acceptable to somebody for your dog to come to them, I think. So, for example, if somebody wants my dog to come to them, then they can ask me, and then I will either let my dog come to them or I don't. Again, because my dog is trained and I'm making decisions for my dog. My dog is not making decisions like this to come and say hi to people, because for me, this is not socially acceptable. I don't want other people's dogs coming saying hello to me, and I don't want my dog saying hello to other people for other training reasons. But let's just say if the person does want him really bad to say hi, I will let him to say hi. Now, this employee, clearly being an employee, I think, not a business owner. Otherwise, I think if he would be a business owner, he would just say F off. Don't come to my business if you don't like my dog. But so I think he's being an employee, right? And so um he, instead of leashing his dog, he kind of giving him his friendly line. And in my opinion, he's not treating this situation right. And you let me know in the comments. Again, because now let's look at this from the standpoint of the dog owner. He's like, well, my dog is old. He never bit anybody. He's very friendly. He loves saying hi to people. And maybe he's not even saying hi to people, right? Because he's saying here that he was laying somewhere on the sun. Why should I leash my dog? Why? Well, because I think number one, your client asked you to, or like, right, remove it. And maybe honestly, like, having your dog on the workplace, again, I think it's a benefit. And again, we are speculating a lot here because we don't know the details, but being able to bring your dog to your workplace is actually, I think, is a benefit to you from the business that is employing you, right? So I think if the client of that business asks you something that is regarding the dog, it is your responsibility to take care of this for the client, so the client doesn't leave the bad review or something, or gets upset with the business because of your dog, because that's already was an advantage to you to bring your dog. You don't have to bring your dog to your work. Again, you don't. But somehow this person did, and clearly that worked for the business fine. But I think, again, as an employee, then you have to have respect for the business. And if the client requests, you have to either take the dog away or put him on a leash and make the client comfortable, right? That's just my opinion. Instead, however, what happens here is very strange. He says, now Sunny, it's a dog name, has to sit in a hot reception camper with a shock collar on because this guy feels threatened by an old dog laying in the sun. Okay, so the way the e-collar works, and shock collar is a synonym that people use who don't know what e-collar is. E-collar not gonna help this situation. Okay, so there are different camps, right, of e-collar users. The proper e-collar users, and why e-collar got the bad rep, which is, let's use the e-collar as a hammer, meaning we're gonna shock the dog, basically electrocute the dog on a very high stimulation level, so he's not gonna do something, right? Aversive. The proper people who use e-collar, like me, it is a digital leash. So you overlay e-collar on actual leash pressure and leash commands and voice commands and hand commands and stuff like that. So then you can have your dog off leash and have 100% recall that a lot of people think doesn't exist. It does exist. And things like this. So the e-collar in this case is used as a digital leash, not as a hammer. However, most of the people who don't understand this concept will think of it only as a hammer because they don't know better. They don't have proper education and stuff like that. So if we go back to here, when it is used as a hammer, I don't see how it's gonna work. So I guess they are assuming if the dog gonna charge the guy, they're gonna stim him on an e-collar on a very high level, and he's gonna be okay. Like, this is so wrong. Why not to just put the the leash on the dog and be done with it? You know, just leash the dog or put him away. Why are you putting e-collar that, I mind you, you have to press a button? It's going to be a controller like this or a finger kick like this. So you have to press a button at that very moment, and it also has to be fitted properly, because if it's fitted too loose, you get no connection and there's going to be no stimulation administered. So I'm imagining this guy on the reception sitting with this remote, waiting for the dog to charge at the guy. Like, who came up with this solution? Instead of leashing a dog or putting him away or not bringing him to work, they put a collar on him. For what? That is just so random. And that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I thought that was kind of crazy. Again, I have no idea why this was done and what's the logic behind it. But again, if the dog decides to charge the guy and he like presses the button on a very high level, I guess potentially this could work, but potentially could not work, because like I said, if the collar is not fitted properly or the level of correction is not high enough, the dog might get even more upset and freaking go for it. For sure. I don't know. It's just super weird. Or let's just say another scenario. The dog actually goes to say hi, guy freaks out, guy stims the dog on the high level, and the dog does something stupid. In the meantime, dog was just gonna say hi. Again, this is the dumbest way to use e-collar. Don't know why they're doing this, have no idea, but this is why e-collar is getting a bad rep, because people like this don't understand what they're doing. They shouldn't be even buying it. Like, why? Like, again, it's just so weird, because so what, this guy already had an e-collar available and he decided to put it on. Like, because if the dog would be trained with e-collar, and that's why the guy had it originally, I can't possibly see him putting the e-collar on for this reason. Anybody with any sensible person would just leash the dog. Wouldn't be putting e-collar to prevent him going over that person. That just makes no sense from the training standpoint. So I don't think that this dog was trained with e-collar properly. I don't know why this person had e-collar in the first place to even have this solution available to him. And I just think that instead of going all the way to the dark side, which again, absolutely not needed, they should have just leashed the dog or put him away or let him stay home, especially if he's older dog. He's totally fine being home, instead of dragging him to your work. Of course, I don't know all the circumstances, but again, at least they could have put a leash on the dog, clip him in, and now the client is nice, safe, and feels okay because he knows that the dog not gonna run to him and bite him, right? And again, I think a lot of dog owners forget that other people don't have to like their dog. Just because you like your dog doesn't mean that I have to like your dog or somebody else have to like your dog. Um, I didn't turn into this person when I got a dog, which I was very afraid that I'm going to turn into this crazy person. Are you that crazy person? Let me know in the comments. But my mom did. She she is absolutely she has her first dog is now 12 years old, right? And she's absolutely screaming to everybody on the street. He runs to them, he jumps on the people, and she screams, he's friendly kind of thing. I I talk to her on the phone, and all the time I hear he's friendly. Yeah. So, anyways, I thought that was interesting to talk about this. Let me know your take if you're listening and watching. Do you think the client right, or do you think the owner is right, or do you think nobody's right, or the business is not right? Yeah, let me know your thoughts. I think it's very polarizing question. It's kind of, I think most of the people on the planet think that everybody just in love with their dog and their dog should run to the people and they will be happy to get pawed, get their dirty paws on the white clothes of strangers, and that people should be totally fine with that. I don't know. You let me know. I feel like majority of people feel like it's okay for their dog to run to strangers because let's be honest, most of the people probably nowadays going to be okay with that. And this guy is more of a stranger, like a strange scenario, right? So, but again, I'm just talking with you here. I don't know. Maybe you have completely different opinion on this. Let me know. But I thought that was kind of cool to talk about this and see what you guys think. Dog science that bites harder than the dog. I'll see you in the next one. Actually, gonna be talking about strawberries. Can your dog have strawberries? Should they have strawberries? How many, if at all?